You're dancing your booty at night when you're ready.
Do you know there is a street in Prague where every house has a golden secret? Have you ever heard about Noah's wardrobe? Have you ever wondered what was the life like for the servants of the huge Prague Castle? Stay with me to find out. I'm Olga, your joyful tour guide from resilient Ukraine. The war brought me here to this charming city of Prague as a refugee, and every cloud has a silver lining. That is why, together on my channel, we are exploring the mesmerizing attractions of this fairy tale city. Make sure to subscribe not to miss my exclusive live streams and adventures. If you're looking for the slice of Prague over the beaten path, Nový Svět, or in English New World, is your perfect hideaway. It's absolutely charming neighborhood. You can find it in Grachany district, and here you can have a glimpse into Prague's past, how the city looked like. It was quiet, quaint, and absolutely beautiful. Let me take you on a little adventure into this Prague's most charming street, Nový Svět. It's cozy, it's romantic, it's not very long, just 450 meters long, but it's packed with history and small quaint houses. The street is so charming and serene that it sings like a Stradivarius violin and whispers Andersen's fairy tales into your ear. The name Nový Svět means in English New World, which is kind of funny because it's actually really old. It got its name because when the district was built, it was new compared to the rest of Prague. New World is the most golden street in Prague. Every house here has a nickname, Golden. So by the golden acorn, golden lamb, golden griffin, golden pear. But don't grab your jackhammer yet. The gold here is in the stories, not in the ground. This quaint street popped up in the 14th century. It means that it's been here for around 600 years. And back in the day, this area was home to the people who worked for the Prague Castle. You know, blacksmiths, bakers, and other craftsmen who made sure that everything ran smoothly. And here is the coolest part. It wasn't for the rich people. It was more like the hidden heart of the city, where the real life was happening. The place was bustling with workers and craftsmen, and New World became home of the poor and hard-working servants of Prague Castle. Life was tough here. Many families crowded into the tiny houses. They were struggling to make ends meet. But these humble residents, they had a knack for wishful thinking. They were naming their houses with the grand titles, like the house of Golden Acorn, Golden Star, Golden Grape. They wanted to make their life happier and easier. If you wander around the street, you will still see these hopeful signs today. It seems that time has taken a break here. No noisy tourists, no souvenir shops, no tourist traps, just colorful mini houses with tiled roofs, cozy courtyards, and a quiet, timeless vibe. In Nový Svět, you won't find the usual city chaos. Instead, you'll discover a slice of Prague where ordinary life has carried on for nearly 700 years. From birth to death, generations of Prague residents have lived their ordinary existence here, away from the hustle and bustle. Nový Svět, or New World in English, got its name because it was built close to the city walls in the 14th century. Actually, this was the end of the city. These ancient walls are still standing today, and they are adding to the street's old world charm. Nový Svět is often called Prague's Montmartre, and it's not about flashy views, it's about the vibe. There are narrow lanes, colorful facades, and a sense of stepping back in time. Despite the devastating fires in the 15th and 16th centuries, the resilient spirit of this neighborhood survived, and it was rebuilt each time. And by the 17th century, this place became a trendy sport for the skillful craftsmen and artisans who decided to live here. But the history wasn't always kind to Nový Svět. After World War I, it became the poor area again, and it even got the nickname Italian Street, because it had resemblance to the quaint and humble suburbs of Rome. And life was difficult and tough here again. Imagine 10 or 12 people squeezing into a tiny room. Parents often had one bed, while kids and even the paying lodger slept on the cold floor among the cockroaches. The apartments were damp, dark, rotten. The walls were covered with mold, and policemen, when they were visiting these homes, they had to cover their mouths and noses with handkerchiefs. But then came the middle of the 20th century, and the transformation happened. Artists and creative people of Prague flocked to Nový Svět, and it earned a new nickname, Montmartre of Prague. And the trend continued even during the Soviet influence, because in 1960s and 70s, during the communist rule, Czech artists, musicians, filmmakers were living here, and the creative spirit is lingering in the air. It's adding to this neighborhood's unique charm. After Velvet Revolution, in 1989, housing prices soared, and it became one of the city's most desirable spots. House with the Golden Star has got a charming balcony where you can grab a drink during the daytime. The streets are so narrow that the cars can't fit here, and the city noise barely reaches the place. You'll feel like you stepped out from the 21st century. There are beautiful lamps, and at night they are adding this touch of romance. If you peek into the narrow courtyards, you will see the fascinating treasures. One courtyard even has a secret passage with a nearby monastery. And these courtyards, like the green heavens, they are overgrown with ivy, with the grapes. Sometimes they have old fountains and wells. Each wall here whispers the stories of the past owners, and all these vibes are adding to the serene beauty of the place. There is even the secret playground, which is tucked behind the Baroque defensive structure, and it's open during the warmer months of the year. House number 1 is known as the House Under the Golden Griffin, and that was the residence of the famous astronomer Tycho de Brahe in the 1600s. He was the astronomer with the metal nose and the mysterious end. The stories like this make the European history so endlessly fascinating, so let me tell it to you. Tycho the Brahe wasn't the typical scholar. When he was just 20 years old, he got the duel with another nobleman over the math formula. And there was no internet back then in the 16th century, so to settle their argument, they decided to fight it out. That is why Tycho the Brahe lost part of his nose in this duel, and he had to wear a prosthetic nose for the rest of his life. This nose was likely made of copper, though probably he had silver or even golden ones for the special occasions. Imagine that, having a nose wardrobe. And Tycho the Brahe was invited to Prague by the Rudolf II, the Holy Roman Emperor. And he found his home here on this tiny New World street. Probably his scientific equipment didn't fit in this tiny house, and his life wasn't ordinary here in Prague. He died of a sudden bladder disease after the party in the 1601, and he was suffering this bladder disease for 11 days. He actually couldn't go to the toilet. So what happened, we still don't know, but tests that were made after that found a mercury, the traces of mercury in his moustache. So probably poor Tycho the Brahe was poisoned. It's still a mystery. By the way, he is buried in Teen Church on the old town square, and you can see his tomb when you just go in this fairy tale church that inspired Walt Disney for creating his castle. There aren't many famous landmarks here, but each building has its own story. My favorite house is at the Golden Pair. It's often called the first Art Nouveau house in Prague. Nový Svět is a landmark in itself. Its charm comes from the impressions made by these neat little houses with the colorful facades and their pretty courtyards. The vast majority of the houses are very small and they are tiny. They resemble those that you can see in the famous Golden Lane in the Prague Castle. But they have names, and if you hear these names, you will that will immediately become clear for you that the owners of the houses, they were dreaming of riches. By the Golden Pair, Golden Vulture, Golden Star, whatever house you take, gold is mentioned in the name. It is said that while residents were poor, their ambitions were so golden, and they reflected that in these names. Not every house follows this golden rule on this beautiful street. There is the charming house, it is called house at Crayfish, and it has its name because once there were a lot of crayfish in the nearby river. And now this is the only wooden house in the Prague's historical center. The original house from the 18th century was lost because of fungus, but this is the exact replica. It was built in 1990, and today it's a cozy hotel U Raka at Crayfish. So if you are staying here, you will have a slice of royal charm right in the heart of the city.
Let's walk around this little log cabin that is called a house at the Crayfish. And I would like to tell you the story that makes this place even more special. Long ago, the charming little stream called Brusnice used to run right here, and it was so full of crayfish that the house itself adopted the name. Because the water was sparkling, and you can imagine the sun, the crayfish dancing their awkward little river waltz. It's really the pure old world magic. At the beginning of the 19th century, a young woman whose name was Josefina lived in one of the houses nearby. And she had a love story that it sounds that it was really written for a novel. She was dating a man. His name was Jacob, and he was a real writer and a dreamer. But he wasn't exactly a man of courage at the beginning, because Josephina was poor, and this man, Jacob, he was a little bit embarrassed to be dating with a lady who wasn't exactly rolling in golden coins. But life has its own ways of shaking people awake, and Josephina became pregnant. Our Jacob finally stepped up. They got married just a week when their daughter Marie was born. It's a sad story because their little girl didn't live long. She died, and they continued to live together, and they had a happy family despite this heartbreak situation. But also, you remember this name, Jacob was a writer, so he wrote the famous novel. It's called Miraculous Madonna. And it's interesting that this is a story of a woman who was desperately in love with a man who was obsessed with a perfect beauty. And she was literally poisoning herself. She was adding tiny doses of the arsenic to become extremely beautiful, to become as beautiful as Madonna. And this novel has a tragic twist because finally this man noticed her beauty, but that was too late because she died of that poison. And it's actually a bitter lesson for all those people who are chasing their impossible love and perfect beauty. This is heartbreaking, dark, but absolutely spellbinding story. Next time when you are coming to Prague Castle, don't just rush past and visit New World. It's the magical place where you can feel the love stories, the dreams, the heartbreaks, the triumphs. And it's here you understand that history doesn't hide behind the glass in Prague. It breathes and it lives in one of these sweet corners. Thank you so much for being with me. Thank you for supporting me on Buy Me a Coffee. And the drinks that you buy me is the motivation that keeps me exploring, creating, and sharing the stories that matter for me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. See you next time. Bye.